So guys, what if Naruto was son of Lady Phenex and Powerfull Devil in high school? Naruto's phone had suddenly started ringing. Kuno, who was busy snuggling on her father's chest, groaned at having her sleep interrupted. 9 fluffy tails lazily emerged from underneath the blanket. One of Kuna's tails followed the direction of the phone's ringtone, and grabbed the object, slowly bringing it towards her ear. "Hello?" The young girl answered with a yawn. "Kuno," came the voice of an older woman. "Why are you answering Papa's phone? You're supposed to be in class by now." Kuna's eyes burst into saucers, her sleepiness long forgotten. The young blonde searched for a clock and shook with fear when she noticed that it was almost 11. The person she was speaking was not to be angered under any circumstance. Kuno gulped and spoke. Morning, Mama," she stuttered, knowing she was in trouble. Me and Papa slept in a little." The woman, now identified as Yusaka Phenex, a kind, beautiful, loving mother and wife, was angry. It's Kuna's first day at Kuo Academy, and her husband promised to take her on time as she had to supervise their cafe that they ran. She called in wondering how her baby handled going to school for the first time, only to find out she was still home. Yusaka calmed herself, not wanting to upset her child. "Masumi, give the phone to Daddy, please." Kuno obeyed her mother and gently nudged her father's shoulder, trying to wake him up. Naruto didn't respond in the slightest, still snoring to his heart's content, unaware of the shit he currently was knee-deep in. Kuno climbed on top of his chest and started to shake his head. "Daddy, wake up." Naruto grabbed the small girl and wrapped her in a tight embrace, still snoring away. "5 more minutes, honey. Daddy will buy you toys later," the elder Phenex grumbled in his sleep. The young child face-palmed at her father's ignorance towards this dangerous situation. Mommy was not to be disobeyed when she was upset, and she was clearly upset. There was no way the little girl was getting out of her dad's vice grip of cuddles. Seeing no other alternative method, Kuno bit Naruto's hand as hard as her developing jaw would allow her to. "Yeeoowwww." Naruto screamed. He looked at his hand, and to his shock, he saw his normally adorable daughter, trying to have eat him for breakfast. "Kuno, what are you doing?" he yelled, rubbing his now swollen hand. Kuno handed her father his cell phone, knowing he would understand her methods once he speaks with Mum. "Hello?" he asked angrily, not enjoying his alarm today. "What do you mean hello?" Yusaka spat angrily. "Why isn't Kuno at school?" Naruto was now confused. Why the hell is she mad? We have plenty of TT time. I am so dead now. It was Naruto's turn to gulp as he stared at the clock. School had begun hours ago. "And now listen, Ya-chan, it was simple mistake," Naruto answered cowardly. "I am coming home. Get Kuno ready," she replied, deathly calm. Not giving him a chance to beg for his life, she hung up. Naruto threw his phone on the bed with a sigh. He looked at Kuno, who was returning his gaze with a glare. "Your fault." They both shouted at each other, at the exact same time. "Nah." Kuno pointed at her dad. "You said you'll wake me up, Daddy." Naruto gasped. "I seem to recall someone begging to watch anime, instead of going to bed." Naruto could never say no to his daughter when she gave him the puppy dog eyes of death. Kuno blushed at her father's accusation. He did have a point, but there's no way the little girl would admit that. Well, you should have listened to me. Why, you're the adult," she stuttered, thinking of an excuse. The elder blonde chuckled at Kuno's attempt at blaming him. He. "Doesn't matter now, Munchkin. Mama will be even more upset with us if I don't get you dressed for school." Naruto noticed Kuno lowering her head when he mentioned school. "What's the matter, Ku-chan?" he asked, lifting her head with his fingers. The 7-year-old whimpered as tears started to build up in her eyes. "I don't want to go school, Papa," using her tails to dry her eyes. "What if no one likes me?" she asked as she hugged her father, seeking comfort. Naruto returned her hug, and smiled sympathetically, he burying his face in her hair. "Of course people will like you, silly," he said while stroking her back. "You're like the bestest little girl ever, not mention being cute as a button." "You're just saying that," the Phenex and yokai hybrid mumbled from her father's shoulder. Naruto began to tickle her sides. "Has Daddy ever lied to you?" laughing as Kuno immediately reacted. Daddy, SS top. Ha 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 ha, Kuno shouted, struggling to break free from the barrage of tickles. "Nope, not until you admit I am right," he said, laughing while continuing to mercilessly tickle the young Phenex. "Okay. Ha 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 ha. Say it. You're right, Daddy," Kuno admitted, laughing uncontrollably. Naruto finally relented and allowed Kuno to catch her breath. "You know I love you, right?" he told her sincerely. Kuno nodded, her face flushed from the assault she just endured. "I love you too, Papa." She gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. Kuno finally got off the bed. "All right, Let's get dressed then, I am already late. Not afraid anymore? Naruto asked amused. Kuno gave him a bright grin, and shook her head. Naruto mirrored her grin. That's my girl, he would do anything to keep that smile on her face as long as he drew breath. Cafe, Yusaka sighed, more than annoyed with her husband. Kuno probably made him stay up and watch more One Piece with her. Yusaka knew she should have made them go to bed. But Kuno gave her the damn puppy dog eyes of death. Once she gave her that look, she would say yes to anything her daughter demands. So, she allowed the blondes to stay up. Only the original Satan could say no to her, but she only agreed to one more episode. Knowing Kuno, she probably made her father watch the remainder of the season before they went to sleep. Naruto, being the big softy he is, gave in. She looked around the busy cafe known as the Grindhouse and smiled to herself. There was a time in her life where she worried about a whole lot more than getting Kuno to school. She thanked the stars for bringing the blonde idiot in her life. Without him she would be living a life full of war and bloodshed. She could still remember their first meeting as if it was yesterday. Flashback. Kyoto, 100 years ago, Yusaka's war room. Yusaka glared at the map of Kyoto. Civil war has broken out between the half-breeds and full-blooded yokai. Years of being dictating by the full breeds have finally spilled over into all-out war. The map represented the current strength they held over Kyoto and her surrounding regions. Currently, their forces were being pushed back by the half-breeds who have the advantage of overwhelming numbers. It did not help that a large number of full breeds also joined the rebellion. Some were motivated by political gain, hoping the new regime would bring them more power and influence. The others simply wanted to bring equal rights to all yokai regardless of their blood. With their army being spread so thin, the rebellion has seized almost all of the surrounding regions. Kyoto was their last defense. Yusaka excited the room. Beyond frustrated with the state of her homeland, she did not agree with the war. The blonde beauty felt it was completely unnecessary. The rebellion's demands were not ridiculous. All they want was to treat it equally. Unfortunately, the elders with their politics and tradition would never allow half-breeds to be viewed as equal. Suddenly, the building started to rumble. Everything around her started to shake. The Kyuubi looked outside a nearby window. The normally blue sky had a bright yellow tint to it. A meteor-like object came crashing through the sky, heading directly into the forest across Kyoto. The impact of the meteor caused a mini earthquake. Several windows cracked from the force of the impact. My lady should pursue. Yusaka turned to face Yuki, a friend of hers since childhood. She was a young brunette who had 6 fluffy tails behind her with a rack and booty to kill for. She was dressed in a simple shrine maiden outfit, much like Yusaka. Yusaka nodded yes. Lieutenant, gather a team, crash site. Yusaka and group of fellow yokai stared at a giant crater. In the center of it laid a strange man. He came crashing through the sky and caused the ground to shake from the impact of the crash. His spiky blonde hair seemed burned slightly and his clothes were shredded. Where the hell did he come from? He smells like a devil. Yusaka-sama, an older male voice came from the group. The yokai had red hair, and was heavily scared. He looked at the blonde stranger with disgust. The old fox was known as Mika, one of the generals Kyoto. The 8-tailed war hound had a strong distaste of anyone who was not of purebred. When the half-breed rebellion had been nothing but peaceful protests, Mika and his subordinates responded by massacring thousands of protesters who dared question the status quo. He embraced this war, seeing it as an opportunity to remind the maggots their place. This devil will bring nothing but trouble. We must kill him, he's a spy. Yusaka scoffed at the elder's suggestion. Have you gone senile? Do you wish to cause another war? Don't we have enough to deal with? She growled at the man. They couldn't afford another enemy. Mika growled. Yusaka-sama, you're young. You don't know them like I do. Devils are never a good omen. He stepped forward, claws drawn, ready to strike the man. Yusaka was seething with anger. How dare you question me? Her hands started to smoke ominously. The Kyuubi grabbed the elder's throat and lifted him up. Yusaka exposed her fangs at him. You have done nothing but try and undermine my authority since this accursed war begun. She yelled, tightening the grip around the man's throat. If you challenge me again, I'll forget that you are general, and kill you myself. She released him, letting him fall unceremoniously to the ground. She looked down at the growling kitsune. Do I make myself clear? Mika glared at Yusaka, knowing that challenging her outright would be suicide. Being a Kyuubi meant she was more powerful than him. You will rue the day you humiliated me, Princess, the old fox thought darkly. In the meantime, Mika swallowed his considerable pride, and begrudgingly nodded his head. Please accept my humblest apologies. He would live to fight another day. Good. Now, get out of my sight, the blonde ordered. Mika got up and excused himself with a word, thoroughly humiliated. Yusaka then turned her attention back to the devil that caused the crater. Yuki approached her leader and observed the blonde man. Muscles, cute face, he's delicate. Yuki thought perversely as she licked her lips. She leaned closer so she could whisper into Yusaka's ear, he's hot, isn't he, Ya-chan? Yusaka slightly jumped at her lieutenant comment, baka. Of all things you could say. She whispered harshly, your panties always drop when a cute guy is involved. Yuki giggled as she poked Yusaka's ribs. You admit he's cute though? The blonde's face flushed. I didn't. She said, flustered. There's no way she was having this conversation right now. Yuki got even closer. Embarrassing Yusaka wasn't something she got to do very often. Oh. Are you sure? Look at that body, tell me you don't want to taste? Yusaka was now burning, and not because of her foxfire for once. Shut up, I am not talking about this. About men? Yuki asked curiously. Don't mean to tell you're into women, Ya-chan. I love you, but not like that, she said, now giggling hysterically. People were beginning to stare. Yusaka was now more red than the ripest tomato. If you don't shut up right now, I will burn you, she said, glaring daggers into her friend. You know I can hear you. The blonde devil groaned out weakly, amusement clearly in his voice. Yusaka and Yuki gasped, turning their attention to the crater, a pair of sky-blue eyes staring right at them. The devil smiled brightly at the blushing pair. Hey. Mind telling me where I am, please? While he may be smiling weakly, his entire body felt like it was on fire. Yusaka gathered herself, pushing her embarrassment to the side. You are in yokai territory, devil, Yusaka said sternly, in full boss bitch mode as Yuki so eloquently put it. What are you doing here? The blonde started laughing. As you can see, I fell. As soon as he finished the sentence, the devil started to cough blood. His lungs didn't seem like they wanted to cooperate with him. Yusaka ignored her instinct to call for her medics. There was a war currently being fought. This man could very well be an enemy. I won't ask again. Devil, who are you, and what are you doing in my territory? I am Naruto, of the Phenex family. He heard gasps from the crowd. The Phenex family were well known throughout the land. The man that they were speaking to was the Naruto Phenex, rumored to have slayed 2 of the Satan's descendants on his own. He was supposedly killed accomplishing this task. Why, or meant to be dead, Yusaka said with wide eyes. She couldn't believe that this was the man who helped stop the devil's civil war. The now named Naruto nodded. I was close too, hee. Luckily, I had a few tricks up my sleeve. That's actually why I am here. I teleported having no clue where the destination was, leading me here, he said, grinning. He winced, the pain becoming more and more severe. Yusaka turned to her medics, signaling them to go help the Phenex. Kyoto, inside the hospital, a blue-haired nurse was treating the devil's wounds, but things didn't look so good. The Phenex sustained several severe injuries. It's like his entire body was burned from the inside out. Several bones were broken, internal bleeding, and his lungs were not functioning correctly. This was all so confusing to Yusaka. If what she heard about the Phenex family were true, he should have been healed by now. Yuki noticed her friend's perplexed expression. What's the matter? The redhead asked with a whisper. I thought he would be regenerating by now. He is a Phenex, Yusaka replied softly, not wanting to be heard. Under most circumstances, you would be correct, but taking on 2 Satans does not fall under normal circumstances, Naruto said, glaring at the nurse who was bandaging his ribs cage rather roughly. You can do it harder if you want. Not like they're broken. Mira, a blue-haired nurse who had 2 tails behind her, blushed profusely. Sorry. She apologized, continued, with a more gentle touch. Yusaka and Yuki blushed at being heard, but listened with great interest. Fighting them required me to use attacks that put heavy strain on my body. If I weren't a Phenex, I am sure I'd be dead. I feel it's going to be a while before my body will be back to 100%. My body is working overtime just to keep me alive. It's going to be a while before I am back to normal, the blonde explained honestly. That explains why he hasn't healed yet, both Yusaka and Yuki thought at the same time. Ka-chan's going to pissed, he chuckled thinking about how he's going to explain taking on Satans with no help. Yuki giggled at his last comment. Sounds like you are scared of her. Naruto couldn't agree more. I'd take Satans over an angry mother any day. His mum could nag someone to death. He wondered why the devils didn't just send her to fight their enemies single-handedly. They will run away in a heartbeat. Yusaka turned her attention towards the nurse Mira-san. How long till Naruto-san gets back on his feet? Mira gulped, trying to suppress another flush. The Yusaka-sama is talking to her. She quickly shook those from her mind. She was a professional. Naruto-sama should take it easy for a minimum of 2 months. His current state is very fragile. She received a glare from the blonde in question. Naruto had an angry pout on his face. I am not Fraggy Yeu. Yuki poked his ribs. Yuki had an amused smirk on her face. That's pretty fragile in my opinion, she said with little giggle. Both Yusaka and Mira tried to stifle their laugh to little effect. Naruto was not amused, he was not fragile. Imagine if the pillar saw him like this, he would never live it down. Mira cleared her mouth and continued, I would recommend bed rest, no strenuous activities, and defiantly no magic. Naruto looked at Mira like she was crazy. What the hell am I going to do in bed for 2 months? I have to get home. The Phenex whined out like a spoilt 5-year-old. Unfortunately, we are currently in war, and you are in no shape to do any traveling. You are free to stay as long as you need to recover, Yusaka told the blonde devil. She couldn't let him leave with a clear conscience. Plus, he also seemed to have a knack of bringing the mood up. It was a nice change of pace from the normal doom and gloom that seemed to surround her. Yuki, who had playful grin on her face, decided to add her own 2 cents. I am sure there's something we could do to keep you busy, she suggested perversely. Yuki was not shy when it came to the opposite. Yusaka, Mira, and Naruto all choked at Yuki's open attempt at betting the Phenex. Naruto swallowed hard, his cheeks adorned a red tint. Thank you for your offer. Both of you, I'll try not to take advantage of your hospitality. Yuki giggled perversely. Once again, I won't mind you taking advent. Yusaka had enough and slapped her lieutenant across the head. Would you stop already? She had more than enough of her perverted antics for one night. Yuki rubbed her now swollen head. That's mean, Ya-chan, she muttered with a pout. It's nice to see her act like herself. This war was not easy for Yusaka. It forced her to harden up and bottle up her emotions. 2-3 Tails entered the hospital room. Yusaka-sama, there are plans that need your approval. The Kyuubi smiled sadly. She still had responsibilities. Turning to her lieutenant Yuki, let's go. Naruto needs to rest, and we have work to do. Yuki nodded, but before she left, the 6-tailed vixen turned and gave Naruto a wink. Yusaka growled and dragged Yuki out by her ear. Oi, Ya-chan. That hurts. 1 month later, Mira-chan. I am telling you, I am not hungry. Naruto yelled at the nurse who was trying to feed him peas. No way he was going to eat that poison. He wouldn't wish that upon his worst enemy. Why couldn't they serve ramen? Mira didn't relent, bringing the spoon full of mashed peas closer to the devil's mouth. Open up, Naruto-sama. You're not going to get better if you don't eat your veggies, Mira said enthusiastically, making the awe face. The blonde stubbornly refused. He still couldn't move his body properly, but his head was fine, and as long as he was able to move, he would resist her attempts at killing him. He had to deal with this devil for 30 days. Peas were just crossing the line. Today he is making a stand against peas. No man should be forced to suffer this punishment. No, he said, stirb only, dodging the spoon full of death with refined skill. Mira pouted. He was being awfully difficult today. Why couldn't he just eat his food? It's good for him. She even gave him a chart with all the nutritional benefits that come with peas. I even added colors. She pouted, depressed that she couldn't convince the blonde. Now what's all the commotion here? Naruto turned to see Yusaka, who entered the room with an amused smile on her face. The Phenex had become very fond of the beautiful blonde during his stay with the yokai. It always brightened his day whenever she visited. They shared stories from their childhood, talking about each other's culture, and dragging Yuki off when it was time to leave. She was different from the women he normally dealt with in the underworld. Yusaka was not into status, money, or power. Yusaka treated him like Naruto, and not a Phenex. She wanted peace for her homeland. That was something he could respect, as he wanted the something for his own home. Mira pouted at Yusaka. Naruto-sama doesn't want to eat his food. Snitch. Naruto glared at Bluette. Mira responded by poking her tongue at the blonde. I am tired of being cooped in this bed all day. My warden won't let me leave, Naruto said in a depressed tone. The blonde was not used to being injured. With his Phenex regeneration, he never had to deal with this issue. I can't even teleport or Mira will pop a vessel. Yusaka sent a sympathetic look at the blonde. I'll tell you what, Naruto. How about I take you for lunch? Hoping to cheer him up by taking him outdoors. Naruto was practically beaming with joy. Yes, please. I need some fresh air. Yusaka looked at Mira for approval. If that's okay with you, Mira, a little walk won't kill him, would it? Mira contemplated the request. Well, it's not recommended, but Naruto-sama has been cranky lately. A stroll would do him some good. Mira agreed with a nod. Just don't go too far, Naruto-sama. You're still not well enough for strenuous activities, Mira reminded firmly. Naruto groaned at the ever-vigilant nurse. Yes, ma'am. Alright, let's get you up, Mira said enthusiastically. I'll just go get lunch, Yusaka said with a smile, happy to get the blonde smiling. It felt nice. Outside the hospital. Ah, fresh air, Naruto said with his hands behind his head. enjoying the sun. He felt better already, taking in the sights of Kyoto. It was nice to see them from his own eyes, and not through a window. Are you ready? Naruto turned around and saw Yusaka. She was holding a picnic basket. Let's go. Naruto gave her a bright smile, grateful that she took the time out of her busy day to take him for lunch. Forest of Kyoto. How far, Yusaka-chan? Naruto asked, ready to fall over. The sun was now killing him. When did a Phenex get caught cursing the sun? His ancestors would be very disappointed. Yusaka giggled at her blonde friend's antics. Not far, Naruto-kun, just through that cave, she said, giving him a smile. Both blondes entered the cave, heading towards the light at the end of the tunnel. I am starting to miss that bed. Maybe Miraha. Wow. Naruto was cut off mid-speech. The cave led to a beautiful pond, surrounded by trees, plants, and all sorts of wildlife. It was simply breathtaking. Worth the trip? Yusaka asked, a playful grin gracing her beautiful face. Naruto nodded. Definitely. Where did you find this place? I used to come here as a child. It helped me think, or when I just wanted to get away from all the politics. Other than Yuki, you're the only that knows this place exists. You should feel special, she finished with a wink. Naruto felt blood rushing to his cheeks, and rubbed the back his head. I am honored, he. Naruto's stomach rumbled in anger, demanding that it be satisfied. Yusaka started to laugh. The man who had the power to take on Satans was so normal. If you told her a month ago a devil could ever act like Naruto, she would have laughed at your face. It honestly surprised her that he wasn't some arrogant, perverted pig. It was honestly a refreshing change for her. She was glad that he came falling into her life, literally. Yusaka put the basket down and pulled out a white picnic blanket, spreading it neatly on the ground, and sat down, making herself comfortable. She patted the empty spot beside her, inviting her fellow blonde to join her. Naruto groaned, feeling his back click as he sat down beside the blonde Kyuubi. Yusaka pulled out a couple of parcels, handing one to Naruto. I made sandwiches, I hope you like 'em, she said with a bright smile. Naruto opened the parcel, analyzing the sandwich critically. Yusaka was nervous. Had she not done something wrong? Maybe he was used to something completely different. This was a stupid idea. He's a noble. No way he'd like my food, she thought sadly. Wait. Why do I care? He can go choke on the bread for all I care, she thought heatedly, trying to suppress the incoming blush with little success. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. Her thoughts were interrupted as she felt Naruto poke her shoulder, crumbs all over his face. Got any more in the basket? He asked with blush. It's really good and it's been forever since I had a decent bite to eat. Hi. I am happy you like it. Blushing brighter than the hottest lava, handed the blonde another parcel, feeling butterflies in her stomach. If he's not careful, I am not going to let you leave. Naruto gladly accepted the food, and started to munch away. He could die a happy man right now. Yusaka smiled fondly at him, glad she could help brighten his day. Sunset. They talked for hours, completely losing track of time. It's time we head now, eh? I am sure everyone's worried about where you, Naruto said, leaning on his back, enjoying the breeze. Yusaka, who mirrored Naruto's posture, agreed. I really enjoyed this, Naruto. Let's do it again sometime, yeah? She said with a blush. Naruto smiled. Of course. Wanna help me up? He asked, chuckling. Yusaka nodded. She got up quickly, then proceeded to help Naruto to his feet. Yusaka looked into Naruto's ocean blue eyes, not knowing what came over her. She pulled the devil into a soft kiss. Naruto's eyes widened. She's kissing me. Blood instantly flowed to his, making him look a volcano ready to erupt. Naruto relaxed himself and relaxed, kissing the blonde kitsune back. After a few minutes the need for air became overwhelming, making the pair pull away, trying to catch their breath. Yusaka, who now was ready to pass out from the overwhelming emotions circling inside of her, cupped the devil's right cheek, rubbing it softly. Never change, Naruto Phenex, she said softly, emotion heavy in her voice. Naruto held her hand that was touching his cheek. No more words were needed. Kyoto, Yusaka's house. You kissed Naru-chan. Yuki screamed. Yusaka and Naruto. A couple? Yusaka instantly covered the redhead's mouth. Shut up. Do you want the whole world know? She hissed. I am going remove my hands if you want. Shout. Do you understand, Yuki? The bubbly girl nodded, mouthing a muffled yes through the Kyuubi's hand. Yusaka moved her hand, slowly. Now talk. When? How? Was it good? Did he use tongue? Yuki started blabbering. Can I answer? Or are these questions hypothetical? Yuki nodded eagerly. Yes, we kissed. It was amazing. The Kyuubi answered with a blush. Yuki squealed. Oh. I am so happy for you, Ya-chan. Yuki then began to pout. although I did want him first, I guess it's okay since it's you. In all honesty, Yuki was happy for her friend. Yusaka was thrust into a position she really didn't want. The girl's shoulders were heavy with burden she really didn't want to bear. She deserved happiness in her life. If Naruto provided that, Yuki was more than happy for her friend. They'll make such cute babies, she thought with a giggle. Is he big? Yuki asked with grin, winking her eyes at the blonde. Yusaka threw a fireball, aimed directly for Yuki's face. Unknown location. Two hooded were seen gathered in the middle of an abandoned building. Both of them had 8 tails flowing behind them. Tell me why I should kill you right now, General. A growl escaped from one of the figures. Mika chuckled, lowering his hood, his scared face adorned an arrogant grin. Well, Kuruma, you still have that temper, it makes you reckless. The second figure, now being identified as Kuruma, lowered his hood. He was a red-headed kitsune who had a pair of blood-red eyes. The yokai had 8 flowing tails, and had several scars on his face. Kuruma, a pure-blooded kitsune. He was the leader of the rebellion. Kuruma seethed with rage, his fists trembling. Why should I kill you right now, scum? The kitsune asked again, visibly restraining himself from attacking the general. He was the man responsible of starting the civil war. Resistance was peaceful before the general started to outright massacre any peaceful gatherings. Kuruma couldn't stand by and allow such evil to go unpunished, so he joined the rebellion, and vowed to end the tyranny. Thanks to Kuruma joining the rebellion, many full-blooded yokai followed the 8 tails. He was highly respected by his fellow yokai. Thanks to him, the rebellion had been able to hold their own in the war. Big words from a traitor. I wonder how Lieutenant Yuki would feel knowing you turned into such a savage, Mika said with a smirk. You leave her out of this, Mika. Kuruma growled out. Yuki, his love, would not join him in the rebellion. She refused to abandon Yusaka. This subject was not something he enjoyed discussing, especially not with this man. Mika's grin grew wider. Struck a nerve. Did I? Worry not. I have no plans for your former mate. I would like to bring you two together again by helping me end this war. It has far longer than it should have. Mira pulled out a map from his cloak, throwing it to Kuruma. This is the map of Kyoto's watchtowers. It should allow you to get close enough to assault Kyoto undetected. 5 moons from now, you and your army will attack, and bring an end to Yusaka's reign. Yokai who are loyal to me will assist with your assault. Kuruma's eyes narrowed. The general was not known for being the generous type. What would we gain by agreeing to this plan? Simple. The half-breeds will have the same rights as a full-blood, as long as you agree to make the new ruler of Kyoto. Yusaka does not have the stones to lead our people. I do. Mika folded his arms. Do we have a deal, Kuruma? It's more than fair. Even if they got into Kyoto undetected, Kuruma was not stupid. As long as Yusaka was in Kyoto, she was impossible to defeat. The leyline pipes provided her with near-endless energy. It's pointless as long as Yusaka's within Kyoto. I will be leading our men and women into a slaughter. Miko laughed, already having a solution. Let me handle the pipes. I can sabotage them long enough for us to destroy the Kyuubi. Kuruma contemplated the general's offer. He'd wanted this war to end. I'll agree to this if you allow Yuki to go free. I want no harm to come to her. He still cared for the bubbly redhead. Kitsunes don't turn their backs on loved ones. Agreed. Kuruma, the general was pleased. Kyoto was finally going to be his. 5 days later, Naruto's room, Naruto, Yusaka, Mira, and Yuki were playing cards. You have to be cheating, Naruto-chan, Yuki moaned out, handing the blonde devil more of her money. Naruto greedily snatched the pouting woman's money, nuzzling it against his cheek. Now you-chan. No one likes a sore loser, he said with a grin. Cards were his game. Yusaka huffed, finding herself agreeing with Yuki. Naruto lost just once, and she was fairly certain he lost on purpose just to stop Mira from crying. Spill it, Naruto. How are you cheating? Yusaka was not amused, she was losing money. Naruto pouted at Yusaka's accusation. Ya-chan. I am hurt. Naruto does not cheat, especially in cards. I am just lucky. Mira pouted, not happy losing so often. She was pretty competitive for such a sweet girl, even going as far as to crying just so Naruto would let her win a hand. Naruto stared outside the tent, his expression turned serious. Yusaka, a large group is heading towards Kyoto. They are coming fast. Yuki gasped. What? Where, Yusaka? A thunderous roar echoed throughout the land. The emergency could be heard throughout Kyoto, alarming the population. They were under attack. Yusaka gasped. Impossible. No way Kuruma could have got this close undetected. Mika had taken a large amount of yokai a few days ago. His source apparently found an enemy stronghold that they could attack. Kyoto's defense was severely weakened without the general's support. Yuki. The redhead nodded. Her tails and 2 fluffy ears popped from her body. Mira, stay with Naruto. If the fighting gets close, I want you to instruct the staff to evacuate the wounded. Do you understand? Mira nodded hesitantly. The gentle nurse was not used to being in such a high-pressured situation, but that's not going to stop her from following orders. I won't let you down, Yusaka-sama. Naruto groaned, trying to get up from his seat. I can help. No way he was going to just sit down and allow people he cared for head into danger. A firm hand on his shoulder stopped him from further trying. Naruto looked up to see Yusaka, her 9 tails flowing freely, giving him smile. You're in no shape to fight, Baka. Yusaka said, rubbing the devil's shoulder affectionately. This is not your fight. Stay here, it's safe. Like hell I will. The devil said defiantly. I've lost too many friends already. No way I am going to let that happen to you. Yusaka's eyes started to water slightly. I am afraid you have no choice, she said sadly. The blonde turned to Yuki, who understood what her friend wanted her to do. The redhead's hands started to glow, casting a red aura around Naruto. The blonde devil could no longer move his muscles. She froze me. I am sorry, Naruto. This is the only way I can ensure your safety. Let's go, Yuki. The pair of yokai left the room, ready to face the incoming threat. Outside, Yusaka couldn't believe her eyes. A large army could be seen gathered on the outskirts from Kyoto. What she saw at the front of the army made her blood boil. Mika, the general of her army, was standing beside Kuruma, flanked by several of her very own men and women. That traitor. Yuki spat furiously. She knew that Mika was ambitious, but to outright betray them was something she never suspected. Yusaka was nervous. The combination of both Kuruma and Mika was dangerous. As long as I am inside Kyoto, they won't have a chance. Yuki, gather whatever force we have, and garrison them with the civilians. Should I fail to defeat them, I want you to retreat. Make sure our people are safe. Yuki gasped. No way, I am leaving you to fight them alone. This is an order, Lieutenant, Yusaka said, glaring at the redhead. Yuki nodded reluctantly. The redhead's body started glowing, changing form. The kitsune transformed into a medium-sized fox and ran off, following her leader's order. Yusaka closed her eyes. Her whole body started to glow much like Yuki's. Let's end this. Kyoto outskirts. Kuruma's eyes narrowed. Yusaka transformed into her fox form. He turned to Mika, who was grinning like a madman. It's time you to take you down a couple notches, princess. Mika pulled out a remote with a big red button. Time to bring in the new age. Laughing madly as he pressed the button. A large explosion could be seen in the middle of Kyoto. Kuruma's eyes widened. The general just blew up the pipelines. Are you insane? You'll blow the entire city. We need the pipes to keep the city stable. The kitsune would have never agreed to the general's plan if he planned to destroy the city. Mika simply chuckled. Do you think me a fool, Kuruma? I have merely destroyed the connection between Yusaka and the city. However, if we don't hurry up and re-establish the link once Yusaka is out of the picture. Kuruma growled, not liking the general's strategy one bit. What's done is done. Both kitsunes transformed into their own fox forms, matching the size of Yusaka. Both had matching red fur and scars covering their bodies. 8 tails were a formidable force, even for a Kyuubi. Mika turned his head towards the army, numbering 20,000 strong. Hold position, Yunal. We have destroyed the fox, the giant fox ordered. He then faced Kuruma. Are you ready? Kuruma didn't bother to respond verbally, and charged towards the city. Mika grinned, following close behind. Soon Kyoto, you'll be mine, he thought darkly. Kyoto. Yusaka was gasping for air. The connection. It's gone. The giant fox looked up to the pair of giant foxes charging towards the city. I'll have to make do without. The giant fox had no choice but to fight. She would give her life for Kyoto. Roar. Yusaka released a fierce roar and charged towards the foxes. Yusaka leapt over the walls of Kyoto, and set her sights on Mika. She tackled the scared fox to the ground, causing a minor earthquake. Traitor. She screamed, and attempted bite his jugular. Erg. Yusaka howled in pain as Kuruma bit into her shoulder from behind. Mika used this as an opportunity to retaliate by slamming his claws into Yusaka's ribcage. Yusaka gathered yokai in her tails, setting the 9 appendages on fire. She then proceeded to prod both male kitsunes with them, forcing them to release their hold on her. The Kyuubi formed a fireball with her hands and blasted it at Kuruma. Kuruma formed his own fireball and shot it back at Yusaka's, canceling the 2 attacks. Kuruma then charged at the Kyuubi, aiming for her neck, Mika charging from her left side. Yusaka held her ground, grabbed Kuruma's claw, and slammed him into Mika, quickly forming another fireball. She shot it at the duo, landing the shot perfectly. Roo. Both males screamed in pain, rolling in the ground, putting the flames out. Yusaka pounced on top of Kuruma and unleashed a flurry of powerful punches on the fox's face. She used her tails to restrain Mika. Mika's hands and legs may not be able to move, but his mouth was free, and bit the Kyuubi's tails. Yusaka released the general from her grip, getting her tails away from the monster's jaws. Mika channeled yokai to his jaws and bit Yusaka on the same shoulder that Kuruma did earlier. Kuruma managed to recover thanks to Mika's efforts. The red head channeled a large amount of yokai into his right hand, and slammed directly into Yusaka's exposed belly, piercing the skin. Yusaka spat blood out from her mouth, falling to her knees, starting to lose her vision. Both males unleashed a barrage of strikes on the Kyuubi till she was on the ground bleeding. Yusaka no longer had the strength to maintain her form, and transformed back into her humanoid self, her shrine maiden dress stained with blood from her wounds. Kuruma and Mika also transformed back into their regular forms. Both of them had slight burn marks, courtesy of Yusaka. Kuruma kneeled down next to Kyuubi, checking if the blonde still had pulse. It was there, but weak. Is she still alive? Mika asked impatiently. Kuruma nodded in response. Well, move. I am going to finish the job. Is that necessary? We've won. There's no need for further bloodshed. Kuruma tried to reason with the general. Yusaka was always good to him and Yuki. He would like to spare her if he could. Out of the question. This whore humiliated me. I intend to have my revenge. Mika spat angrily. The general formed a fireball in his palm. Out of the way, Kuruma. This is the price for out peace. No. Kuruma looked up to see Yuki, in her beast form, running towards them. Don't hurt her, I beg you. The six-tailed women screamed. Kuruma stared at the female as she changed into her human form. Yuki hasn't changed in the slightest. She was as beautiful as he remembered. Yuki let her tears flow freely, looking at the state of her closest friend. She kneeled down, and cradled Yusaka's head on her lap. Yuki, leave. This is no place for you, Kuruma said softly, knowing how much the girl's heart must be shattering right now. Yuki tearfully looked at Kuruma. How could you harm her so bad, Ku-chan? She asked, her voice breaking. Kuruma froze. Why, Yuki? Please don't make this harder. Yuki sniffled. Please don't hurt her. I'll do anything. I'll join you if that's what you wish. I'll bear as much children as you desire. Just leave her alone. She screamed, desperate to save her friend through any means necessary. Kuruma was overwhelmed with guilt. The girl he loved above everything else was crying because he was the source of her pain, no one else. General, stop. There will be no one dying today. Mika huffed. Well, that's a shame. Mika put one hand on Kuruma's shoulder. I understand, Kuruma, I really do. Then stabbed him through the stomach with a clawed hand. But that doesn't mean I share those feelings, he said, chuckling. Kuruma dropped to the floor, clutching his wound. Kuruma, Yuki yelled. I feel I must come clean to you, Kuruma. I never intended to honor our deal. Once I took control of the pipes, I was going to wipe your army out. Kuruma growled. He should have never trusted this man. Don't you worry about Yuki-san, I'll take good care of her. Kuruma, you have my word, Mika said, laughing. Yuki, run. Kuruma shouted. Yuki simply lowered her head, rubbing Yusaka's cheek. Accepting her fate, she couldn't outrun an eight-tails. Mika stepped closer to Yusaka and Yuki. Yuki-san, please move. I don't. Her blood splattered on you. Yuki responded by spiting on the redhead's face. Mika wiped the kitsune's salvia off his face. You whore. I'll teach you to respect your betters. Mika said angrily. He formed a fist, and swung it, aiming for Yuki's face. Yuki closed her eyes, waiting for the blow to land. A few seconds passed, and nothing happened. She opened her eyes once again, gasping at the sight. Naruto was holding the general's fist, stopping the blow. Naruto spoke without turning around. Yuki, take Yusaka and that man to the hospital. She never heard him speak so serious. It scared her. Naruto, how did you get OU? Don't worry about that. Get them to the hospital, he said, repeating himself. Yuki nodded, putting Yusaka and Kuruma over her shoulders. No, you don't. Mika attempted to stop the redhead, but was interrupted by Naruto, who increased the pressure he had on Mika's hand, forcing to one knee. Due to the pain, I'll make sure you never use these hands to strike anyone ever again, the Phenex said in a deathly calm voice. He grabbed the general's other hand. I'll show you what real heat feels like. Both Naruto's hands burned brightly, incinerating the general's hands. Thanks for watching.